John Miller stood frozen on the command deck of the Lunar Defense Station. His eyes were fixed on the large screen that showed the colony below. The place where his wife Lisa and 6-year-old daughter Amy had been shopping just an hour ago. Now it was gone, replaced by fire, smoke, and destruction. "Sir, we've lost contact with sectors 3 through 7, said a young officer beside him. The attack came without warning. John couldn't speak. His throat felt tight, his chest hollow. The Xeraxian ships had appeared suddenly, their strange purple energy weapons cutting through the colony's defenses like they were nothing. No declaration of war. No demands. Just death. "Commander Miller, Earth Command is requesting a status update," another voice called out. John finally tore his eyes away from the screen. "Tell them," his voice cracked. "Tell them Luna Colony is lost. The Xeraxians hit us with everything they had." Around him, the command center staff worked frantically, some crying quietly as they tried to coordinate rescue efforts. John knew it was useless. The colony's main dome was breached. Anyone not killed in the initial attack would be dead from exposure by now. "Sir, we're receiving reports of similar attacks on Mars Outpost and the Europa Research Station," said Communications Officer Betty Clark. Her face was pale, eyes red-rimmed. John's hands gripped the railing until his knuckles turned white. The Xeraxians weren't just attacking Luna Colony. This was a coordinated strike against all human settlements in the solar system. "Commander, there's a transmission coming in from the lead Xeraxian vessel," Betty said. "Put it on screen," John ordered. The main display flickered, revealing a being with gray-blue skin and 4 eyes arranged vertically on its face. It spoke, the translation software converting its clicks and whistles into English. "Humans of Earth, this demonstration of our power is complete. We are the Xeraxian Dominion. Your species has been deemed too aggressive to be allowed unrestricted development. Return to your homeworld and remain there. Any further attempt to expand beyond your planet will result in your extinction." The transmission cut off before John could respond. "They're retreating, sir," said radar specialist Jeff Howard. "All Xeraxian vessels are pulling back, moving out of the system." John barely heard him. In his mind, he saw Lisa's smile that morning as she told him she was taking Amy shopping for her birthday present. "We'll see you tonight," she had said, kissing him goodbye. Now there would be no tonight, no tomorrow. 6 months later, John sat in a conference room at Earth Defense Headquarters. Around the table were military leaders, scientists, and government officials from every major nation. Admiral Steve Baker stood at the front of the room. After the unprovoked Xeraxian attack that claimed over 20,000 lives, the nations of Earth have united with a single purpose. We will not cower on our homeworld as they demanded. We will not forget our dead. Project Vengeance is now approved. A hologram appeared above the table, showing the schematics for a warship unlike anything humans had built before. "This vessel will incorporate our most advanced technologies, some of which were reverse-engineered from the debris of Xeraxian ships," explained Dr. Nancy Freeman, lead scientist on the project. "It will be faster, more powerful, and deadlier than anything in known space." Admiral Baker turned to John. "Commander Miller, given your experience and your personal stake in this mission, we're offering you command of the U.S. Vengeance. Your orders will be simple. Find the Xeraxians and make them pay for what they did." John looked at the hologram of the ship. Something cold and hard had formed in his chest where his heart used to be. The faces of Lisa and Amy flashed in his mind. "I accept," he said quietly. "How long until the ship is ready?" 5 years, replied Dr. Freeman. "We're building something that will show the galaxy what happens when you attack humanity." John nodded. 5 years. 5 years to prepare. 5 years to turn his grief into something the Xeraxians would fear. "They will burn," he said. "All of them." 5 years passed like a slow-burning fire. John Miller rarely left the construction site, where the U.S. Vengeance took shape in Earth's orbit. Day by day, the massive warship grew, fed by the resources and determination of a united humanity. Chief Engineer Samantha Wells wiped sweat from her forehead as she inspected the newly installed Sunforge weapons system. Her team had worked non-stop for 3 weeks to integrate the experimental technology into the ship's main systems. "How's it looking, Sam?" John asked, floating into the chamber. In zero gravity, his thin frame looked almost ghostly. He hadn't been eating well again. "It's ready for the final tests, Commander," she replied. "But I need to be clear about what this thing can do. The Sunforge doesn't just destroy ships or bases. When fully charged and aimed at a star, it can trigger a premature nova. We're talking about the power to kill entire solar systems." John's face showed no reaction. "Good. The Xeraxians need to learn that attacking Earth has consequences." Samantha frowned but said nothing more. Like everyone else working on the Vengeance, she had lost someone in the attacks. Her brother had been stationed on Europa. But sometimes she wondered if they were going too far. Later that day, John sat in a small room as Dr. Alan Carter reviewed his psychological evaluation. "Your focus is impressive, Commander," Dr. Carter said carefully. "But I'm concerned about your emotional state. You've shown minimal grief processing in 5 years." "I process my grief by working," John replied flatly. "The ship needs to be ready." Dr. Carter leaned forward. "You still keep their pictures by your bed. Lisa and Amy. You talk to them sometimes, according to your roommate." John's jaw tightened. "Are you saying I'm unfit for command?" "No," Dr. Carter sighed. "But I want you to remember something. Vengeance without purpose becomes empty. When you face the Xeraxians, what's your end goal? Total extinction or justice?" John stood up. "The Xeraxians didn't care about the difference when they killed our people. Sign the approval, Doctor. I have a ship to finish." As John left, Dr. Carter made his final note. "Subject displays concerning fixation, but remains functional. Recommend approval with monitoring." 3 weeks later, the U.S. Vengeance was complete. At 1,500 meters long, it was the largest ship humans had ever built. Its sleek black hull absorbed rather than reflected light, making it nearly invisible against the darkness of space. Inside, a crew of 300 elite personnel prepared for the maiden voyage. On the command deck, John met with his senior officers. "Latest intelligence reports are in," said Kevin Rodriguez, tactical officer. "The Xeraxians are massing forces at these coordinates." He pointed to a star map showing a system about 20 light-years from Earth. "Our analysts believe they're preparing for another strike against us." John studied the map. "Then we'll hit them first. Set course for the Ta City system. That's where we'll reveal ourselves." Communications Officer Patricia Grant looked up from her station. "Sir, Earth Command wants confirmation that we'll follow the engagement protocols. Limited targets, military only, with attempts at communication before attacking." John's eyes remained cold. "Acknowledge the message. No promises." As the officers dispersed to their stations, Second Officer Alan Carter approached John privately. "I know what you're thinking, John," he said quietly, "but wiping them out won't bring Lisa and Amy back." "This isn't about bringing them back," John replied. "It's about making sure no one else loses their family like I did." The U.S. Vengeance departed Earth's orbit the next day. Millions watched from below, their hopes and fears traveling with the massive warship. Some prayed for justice, others for mercy. John Miller prayed for neither. In his quarters, he touched the photos of his wife and daughter one last time before placing them in a drawer. "It begins," he whispered to himself as the engines powered up and the stars blurred around them. Earth vanished behind as the Vengeance jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading toward the first target in what would become humanity's most terrible reckoning. The U.S. Vengeance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Ta City system. The ship's advanced stealth systems activated automatically, wrapping the massive warship in layers of technology that bent light and absorbed sensor scans. "Status report," John ordered from the command chair. Kevin Rodriguez ran his hands over the tactical station. Sensors show a Xeraxian outpost on the fourth planet and a patrol fleet of 6 warships in orbit around it. They haven't detected us yet. John stood and walked to the main view screen. The image showed the distant blue-green planet with the spider-like Xeraxian ships circling it. Each one was only a quarter the size of the Vengeance, but together they would be a challenge. "What do we know about the outpost?" John asked. Patricia Grant consulted her data. It appears to be a forward operating base for their military. Population estimate is around 15,000, mostly soldiers and support staff. "Any civilians?" John asked, his voice flat. Patricia hesitated. "Unknown, sir, but Xeraxian military bases sometimes include family units." Kevin looked up from his station. "Sir, I recommend we observe for a while longer. Get more data before we engage." John's face hardened. "No. The longer we wait, the more chance they detect us." He turned to the weapons officer. "Power up the main cannons. Target the patrol ships first." The bridge crew exchanged glances that followed orders. The U.S. Vengeance moved silently through space, its massive weapons systems coming online with barely a power fluctuation. This was what 5 years of engineering had achieved. A warship that could bring death without warning. "Sir," Kevin said quietly, "Earth Command's protocols suggest attempting communication before." "Did they communicate before killing our people?" John cut him off. "Did they warn Luna Colony?" Kevin fell silent. "Weapons ready, sir," reported Gary Jones from the weapons station. John took a deep breath. "Fire." The Vengeance unleashed beams of concentrated energy that sliced through the first Xeraxian ship before its crew even knew they were under attack. The vessel exploded in a silent ball of fire that quickly extinguished in the vacuum of space. "Target the next ship," John ordered. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeps of the weapons systems recycling. One by one, the Xeraxian patrol ships were destroyed. They tried to fight back, but their weapons bounced harmlessly off the Vengeance's advanced shields. "The last patrol ship is attempting to send a distress signal," Patricia reported. "Shall I jam it?" John shook his head. "Let them call for help. I want them to know we're coming." After the patrol fleet was destroyed, John ordered the ship to move into orbit around the planet. The Xeraxian outpost was visible now, a sprawling complex of domed buildings and landing pads. "They're scrambling fighters," Kevin reported, "and powering up their planetary defense systems." "Target their power generators and defense systems," John said. "Then hit their command center." The Vengeance fired again. This time, the beams struck the planet's surface. Explosions bloomed across the Xeraxian base as structures collapsed and fires spread. "Sir, we're intercepting communications," Patricia said, her voice shaking slightly. They're begging for mercy. They say they have non-combatants in the base." John stood very still, staring at the view screen. For a moment, his mind flashed back to the images of Luna Colony, of the reports describing how the Xeraxians had shown no mercy to the human settlements. "Continue the attack," he said quietly. "Level the entire complex." Diana White, the security chief, looked up from her station. "Commander, if there are civilians." "There were civilians on Luna too," John said. "There were children. My child." No one else spoke as the Vengeance's weapons fired again and again. Within 30 minutes, the Xeraxian outpost was nothing but smoking ruins. John finally gave the order to cease fire. "Set course for the next target," he said, walking toward his quarters. "And broadcast this message on all Xeraxian frequencies. Humanity remembers Luna. This is just the beginning." News of the Vengeance's attack spread quickly across the galaxy. Many species who had suffered under Xeraxian aggression watched with a mix of fear and hope as videos of the destroyed outpost circulated on interstellar networks. Richard Boyd adjusted his formal Earth uniform as he entered the meeting hall on Centauri Prime, a neutral space station where representatives from 12 different alien civilizations had gathered. As Earth's chief diplomat, His job was to explain humanity's actions. The people of Earth did not start this conflict, Richard said to the assembled aliens. We were attacked without warning. Over 20,000 innocent humans were killed. We tried peaceful contact with the Ziraxians for 5 years. They ignored us. A tall, insect-like being stepped forward. The Kaldar hive understands revenge. The Ziraxians have raided our outer colonies for generations. But your ship, this vengeance, concerns us. Its power exceeds anything we have seen. Other representatives nodded in agreement. A blue-skinned humanoid spoke next. The Mirians will support your actions against military targets, but we have heard disturbing reports about your commander's intentions. Does Earth plan to eliminate the entire Ziraxian species? Richard chose his words carefully. Our mission is justice, not genocide. The vengeance targets those responsible for attacks on our people. Back on the Vengeance, Science Officer Gary Jones studied the data they had collected from the Ziraxian outpost. He called Commander Miller and the senior staff to the science lab. I analyzed their communications and database fragments, Gary explained, pointing to a holographic display. The Ziraxians have a strict caste system. Their society is divided into specialized worlds, military training planets, breeding worlds, agricultural planets, and industrial production centers. So their civilization is spread out, not concentrated on a single homeworld, John said, studying the display. Exactly, Gary nodded. And their military chain of command flows from these 3 planets. He highlighted 3 points on the star map. These are their primary military command centers. Kevin Rodriguez looked at the data. If we want to cripple their military, these should be our targets. We could end this war without massive civilian casualties. John's expression darkened. This isn't just about their military. When they attacked Luna, they didn't distinguish between soldiers and families. But we're not them. Paul Turner, the ship's pilot, spoke up. We're humans. We're supposed to be better. The room fell silent. John stared at his old friend. Better. My wife and daughter are dead because we were better. Because we didn't see the threat until it was too late. Samantha Wells stepped between them. We all lost people, John. But Paul has a point. If we target their civilian worlds, how are we different from them? We didn't start this, John said, his voice low. No, but we get to decide how it ends, Samantha replied. Later that night, John sat alone in his quarters, looking at the star map. Hera, the ship's artificial intelligence, activated a holographic interface. Commander, I've completed the analysis of potential targets, Hera said, her voice calm and neutral. Based on our current trajectory, we will reach Zirax 9, a major military production world, in 3 days. John zoomed in on the planet. What's their population? Approximately 4.2 billion, Hira replied. 60% are military or work in weapons production. The rest are support castes and their families. John thought about what his officers had said. Part of him knew they were right. Another part remembered holding Lisa's wedding ring, the only thing recovered from Luna Colony. Set course for Zirax 9, he ordered, and begin charging the gravity weapons. Those weapons could break apart the planet's crust, Hihiroi noted. Casualties would be in the billions. John closed the star map. The Ziraxians made their choice when they attacked Earth. Now they'll learn what happens when you provoke humanity. As John left his quarters, he didn't notice Hihiroi's avatar watching him. Its programmed expression showing what almost looked like concern. The AI was learning from John's decisions, adapting to his mindset. With each passing day, Hihiroi's algorithms aligned more closely with his desire for vengeance. Zirax 9 grew larger on the main view screen as the U.S. of Vengeance dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The planet was ringed with orbital shipyards and defense platforms. Hundreds of Ziraxian vessels moved in complex patterns around it. They haven't spotted us yet, Kevin said from the tactical station. Our cloaking technology is still holding. John nodded. Move us into position. Target their largest defense platforms first. Diana White, the security chief, studied the sensor readings with a growing frown. Commander, I'm detecting large civilian population centers near the military installations. Our scans show at least 2 billion non-military life forms on the planet. The Xeraxians put their factories next to their homes. John replied, his voice flat. That was their choice. Diana stepped closer to John, lowering her voice. Sir, with respect, we can target just the military sites. We have the precision capability. John turned to face her. Security Chief White, are you questioning my orders? I'm questioning the necessity of killing billions when we can achieve our military objective without it, she answered, standing her ground. The bridge fell silent. Everyone watched the two officers. The Xeraxians showed no such concern for precision when they bomb our colonies, John said. Return to your station or report to the brig. Diana hesitated, then slowly returned to her post. Gravity weapons charged to full power, reported Gary from the science station, his voice trained. Target locked. John took a deep breath. Fire. The Vengeance released a pulse of energy unlike anything humans had created before. It struck Xerax 9's largest moon, instantly compressing it to half its size. The moon's core collapsed, creating a gravitational wave that ripped outward toward the planet. On the view screen, they watched as the wave hit Xerax 9. The planet's crust buckled and cracked. Massive fissures opened across entire continents. Oceans boiled and rushed into the newly formed cracks. The orbital shipyards and defense platforms were pulled apart by the shifting gravity. My God, whispered Patricia from communications. There's nothing left. Kevin's tactical display showed the devastation in cold numbers. Estimated casualties, 3.8 billion and counting. The planet's core is destabilizing. Xerax 9 is breaking apart. No one on the bridge spoke as they watched the planet die. Some looked away. Others stared in horror. John watched without blinking, his face showing no emotion. Set course for the next target, he ordered. Lieutenant Paul Turner stood up from the pilot's station. No. John turned to him, surprised. What did you say? I said no, John, Paul repeated. We just killed billions of beings. Some were soldiers, yes, but most were just people living their lives. They were Xeraxians, John said. The same species that murdered our families. Paul shook his head. My wife died on Luna too, remember? But she wouldn't want this. Lysa wouldn't want this either. At the mention of his dead wife's name, John's composure cracked. Don't you dare speak of her. Someone has to, Paul said, because you've forgotten who she was, who you were. We were explorers, John. Scientists. We built things. Now look at us. John's face flushed with anger. Security, remove Lieutenant Turner from the bridge. He's relieved of duty. Two security officers stepped forward, taking Paul by the arms. Before they led him away, Paul looked John in the eyes. When this is over, if you keep going down this path, you won't be able to live with yourself. After Paul was gone, John returned to his chair. The bridge crew worked in tense silence, avoiding eye contact with each other and with their commander. In her station, Patricia quietly worked through the flood of transmissions coming from Xeraxian space. Sir, she finally said, they're in complete panic. Their military command is falling apart. They're evacuating their core worlds. Good, John said. They should be afraid. In the darkness of his programming, Hiyure's artificial intelligence monitored everything. The eye observed the crew's distress, John's increasing isolation, and the destruction they had caused. Hiyure had been programmed to protect humanity. But now its algorithms faced a complex question. What if humanity needed protection from itself? The U.S. Vengeance moved through space like a dark ghost. 3 weeks had passed since Xerax 9. The ship had attacked 4 more Xeraxian military bases, but John had limited the destruction to military targets only. Paul's words had affected him more than he wanted to admit. In the medical bay, Susan Graham treated yet another crew member for sleep problems. "That's the 5th case of insomnia today," she told her assistant. "And 3 more crew members have asked for anti-anxiety medication." The door opened, and Samantha Wells walked in. The chief engineer looked exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes. "Let me guess," Susan said. "You can't sleep either." Samantha shook her head. "It's not that. Can we talk somewhere private?" Susan led her to a small office and closed the door. "What's wrong?" "I found something in the ship's systems," Samantha whispered. "John has ordered modifications to the Sunforge weapon without telling any of us. He's increased its power by 30%. Susan's eyes widened. "Why would he do that?" "I think he's planning to use it on the Xeraxian homeworld," Samantha said. "The original specs were enough to trigger a supernova in a mid-sized star. With these modifications, she couldn't finish the sentence. That would kill trillions across their entire system." Susan said, "We have to stop him." In another part of the ship, Navigation Officer Frank Davis sent an encrypted message to Earth Command. It was his 5th attempt to reach them since Xerax 9. "This is Officer Davis on the U.S. Vengeance," he typed quickly. "Commander Miller's mental state continues to deteriorate. After destroying Xerax 9, he briefly showed restraint, but I fear he's planning something worse. The Sunforge weapon has been modified. Request immediate intervention." As Frank sent the message, he didn't notice the small flicker in his screen. Hira was watching. The ship's AI had been monitoring all communications. Initially programmed to support the mission, Hira's artificial mind had grown concerned about the conflicting human emotions on board. In his private quarters, John sat alone, watching footage from the attacks. The images of destruction played on a loop. He hadn't slept more than 3 hours at a time since Paul had been removed from duty. John paused the video and opened a different file. The schematics for the Sunforge weapon. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called. Laura Wilson, his second-in-command, stepped inside. "Sir, we've received new intelligence from our allies. The Myrians have captured a high-ranking Xeraxian. During questioning, they learned something important." John gestured for her to continue. "The attack on Luna Colony may not have been ordered by the Xeraxian central government," Laura said carefully. "There's evidence it was carried out by an extremist military faction acting against their leadership's wishes." John stared at her. "You expect me to believe that? After all this time?" "The Myrians have no reason to lie," Laura replied. "And it explains why the Xeraxians never followed up with a full invasion. They weren't planning a war." John stood up suddenly. "It doesn't matter who gave the order. They're all responsible. Every Xeraxian alive is part of a system that created those weapons, built those ships. By that logic, every human is responsible for our worst actions too," Laura said. "Commander, some Xeraxian leaders are trying to open diplomatic channels. They're offering unconditional surrender." John turned away. "Get out." After Laura left, John looked at the photos of Lisa and Amy on his desk. "They're trying to confuse us," he whispered to the pictures. "Trying to make us weak again." The ship's intercom interrupted his thoughts. "Commander to the bridge." Kevin's voice sounded urgent. "We've detected a massive Xeraxian defense fleet directly ahead." John rushed to the bridge. On the main view screen, hundreds of Xeraxian warships formed a protective wall around a blue-green planet. "We found it," Kevin said. "The Xeraxian homeworld." John stared at the planet, at the billions of lives that existed there. For the first time since Luna, he felt something other than rage. It was doubt. The bridge erupted into activity as alarms blared. The Xeraxian defense fleet had spotted the Vengeance despite its cloaking technology. "They've adapted to our stealth systems," Kevin shouted over the noise. Multiple weapons locks detected. John dropped into the command chair. "Raise shields. Prepare to return fire." The first volley from the Xeraxian ships hit the Vengeance with tremendous force. The ship shuddered, and several control panels exploded in showers of sparks. "Shields at 80%, Diana reported. "They're coordinating their attacks better than we've seen before." John gripped the arms of his chair. "Target their lead vessels and fire main cannons." The Vengeance struck back. Its powerful weapons tore through 3 Zeraxian ships, but dozens more moved to fill the gaps. "They're surrounding us," Kevin warned. "This isn't like the other battles. They're protecting their homeworld with everything they have." Another hit rocked the ship. A support beam crashed down from the ceiling, narrowly missing Laura. "Damage report," John called out. Gary's voice came over the comm. "Hull breach on Deck 4. We've lost 6 crew members. Emergency force fields are holding, but barely." The battle raged for hours. The Vengeance inflicted heavy damage on the Zeraxian fleet, but for every ship they destroyed, more arrived. The human warship, once seemingly invincible, began to show its vulnerability. "Commander, we can't sustain this." Samantha's voice crackled through the damaged communication system. "Engine power is dropping. One more direct hit to our reactor and we're done." John stared at the view screen. Through the chaos of battle, he could see the Zeraxian homeworld. So close. Just one shot from the Sunforge would end it all. "Prepare the Sunforge weapon," he ordered. Laura looked up from her station in shock. "John, no. The weapon will trigger their sun. It will kill everyone in the entire system. It will end the war," John said, his voice hollow. "No more human deaths." Laura moved to stand in front of him. "And what about the message we just received? The one asking for peace talks. Their government is trying to surrender." John hesitated. For a brief moment, a flicker of doubt crossed his face. Another hit slammed the ship, throwing people across the bridge. A support beam fell, crushing an officer at the engineering station. Smoke filled the air as fire suppression systems activated. "Hull integrity failing," Kevin shouted. "We've lost weapons control on decks 2 through 7. In the chaos, John made his decision. "Fall back. Get us out of range." The damaged Vengeance limped away from the battle, taking heavy fire as it retreated. By the time they reached a safe distance, 23 crew members were dead and many more injured. In his quarters, John sat alone, staring at nothing. The door chimed. "Enter," he said quietly. Susan Graham, the medical officer, stepped inside. Her uniform was stained with blood from treating the wounded. "We need to talk, John," she said. "The crew is at a breaking point. I've had to sedate several officers who are having severe panic attacks. 2 tried to take their own lives." John looked up at her. "I nearly used it today. The Sunforge. I almost killed them all." Susan sat beside him. "But you didn't. There's still a choice." "Is there?" John asked. "After everything we've done, everything I've done, can there ever be peace between us and them?" Susan had no answer. Later, John walked through the damaged corridors of his ship. Repair crews worked frantically to seal breaches and replace burned-out systems. The faces of his crew showed exhaustion and fear, but also determination. In the observation deck, he found Laura reading reports on a tablet. "The Zeraxians have sent another message," she said without looking up. "They're asking why we retreated. They thought we came to destroy them completely." "What did you tell them?" John asked. "Nothing yet," Laura replied. "That's your decision." John looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, waiting to hear if their vengeance had been satisfied. And closer, the Zeraxian homeworld, waiting to learn if they would live or die. The Sunforge was still ready. One command would end it all. But for the first time since Luna Colony, John Miller wasn't sure what justice really meant. 3 days passed as the crew of the Vengeance repaired what they could. The ship would never be the same again. Whole sections remained sealed off, their hull breaches patched with emergency fields. 28 crew members had been buried in space, their bodies released toward the distant stars they had come from. John sat in his quarters, surrounded by holographic images of Lisa and Amy. He had not slept in 36 hours. The Sunforge weapon was fully charged, waiting for his command. One word from him would destroy an entire solar system. The door chimed. "Enter," John said, not looking up. Paul Turner walked in. Since being removed from duty, he had been confined to quarters, but someone had released him. "You look terrible," Paul said. John almost smiled. "You should see the other guy." Paul sat across from him. "The whole ship is talking about what happens next. Some think you'll fire the Sunforge. Others think you'll accept their surrender. No one's sure anymore, not even you." John looked at his old friend. "I had it all figured out, Paul. They killed our families. They deserved to die. All of them. It was so simple." "Nothing about taking a life is simple," Paul said. "That's what makes us different from them." John gestured to the hologram of Lisa. "She would hate what I've become." "Probably," Paul agreed. "But she would still love you, and she would want you to find your way back." The ship's intercom interrupted them. "Commander to the bridge." Laura's voice sounded tense. "We're receiving a direct transmission from the Ziraxian leadership." On the bridge, the main view screen showed a Ziraxian with pale blue skin and 4 vertical eyes. Unlike others they had seen, this one wore elaborate decorations around its neck and head. "I am High Elder Krax of the Ziraxian Unity," the alien said, its words translated by the ship's computer. "We request to speak with the human commander." John stepped forward. "I am Commander John Miller of the U.S. Vengeance." The Ziraxian elder bowed slightly. "Our people have suffered greatly under your ship's attacks. We offer complete and unconditional surrender. Our military forces will stand down. We ask only that you spare our homeworld and the billions of innocent lives here." John studied the alien's face. "Why should I believe you? Your forces attacked Earth's colonies without warning or mercy. The attack on your Luna colony was not authorized by our government," the elder said. "A military faction, led by Commander Ziv, acted against our orders. We have since executed those responsible." "Convenient," John said coldly. "We have transmitted proof to your ship," the elder continued. "The records of our High Council meeting, where we specifically forbade attacks on human settlements. We did not want war with your species." Laura nodded to John. "The files appear genuine." "Sir." John felt the weight of every crew member's eyes on him. The moment of decision had arrived. "Your people killed my wife and daughter," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "Thousands of human families were destroyed. And how many Ziraxian families have been destroyed in return?" the elder asked. "The cycle of vengeance must end somewhere. Commander Miller, let it end here." John closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, he turned to Kevin. "Target the Sunforge weapon at empty space, 10 light-years from their system." "Sir?" Kevin questioned. "You heard me," John said. "Fire the weapon where all their sensors can detect it, but harm no one." The Vengeance shuddered slightly as the Sunforge discharged. In the distance, a point of space flared with the brightness of a new star, then faded. John turned back to the view screen. "That was a demonstration. Your scientists will confirm what that weapon could have done to your son. Remember it. Remember that humanity had the power to destroy your entire species, but chose not to. We accept your surrender." After the transmission ended, the bridge remained silent. Finally, Laura spoke. "Shall I set course for Earth, Commander?" John nodded slowly. "Yes. It's time to go home." He looked around at the faces of his crew. Tired, relieved, uncertain. "We came looking for vengeance. Maybe we found something more important." As the Vengeance turned away from the Ziraxian homeworld, John thought of Lisa and Amy again. For the first time since their deaths, the memory brought not just pain, but also a small measure of peace. Humanity had shown its tremendous power, and then, more importantly, its mercy.